You know, Portugal is well known for having lots of castles, and there's one here that used to actually be kind of open to the public, and long ago though it was sealed off, so you can't actually go inside it. But it is still kind of neat to explore and walk through these almost ancient ruins. Yeah, they have it gated off, unfortunately. It'd be kind of cool to explore it from the inside. See what the kings of old used to be up to. There's the gate. I could climb this up, but I'm not going to right now. This side isn't so pretty, can't see the tower. And just stunning scenery. This mountain range stretches quite far. Probably about 5 or 6 stories high. This down here is the source of the water. It comes out from the spring up there, which is a really nice area, and I'm gonna go walk through it in a bit. But the water, this is one of actually the other problems that's been happening a lot here in Portugal. I noticed there's a lot of water sources have really dried up. You can see there's barely any water here, and before this used to be full of water. I mean, people would be swimming here, and this place would always be packed. And now there's like next to nothing. You can even get your feet wet, barely. It's quite nice what they've done here in these walkways. The foliage. Little places to sit and dine. It's quite beautiful. This is a beautiful example of the hand-fashioned ways of streaming the spring water down. This is by far my favorite section of this whole place. Getting closer to the root of the water source, and this is where it's just coming down. It's most beautiful, and I can't wait. As I get a little further up, I'm actually gonna have a taste of the water. Fresh spring water from the mountains. How much better can it get? Talk about getting close to the source. Now this is where the path officially ends, pretty much. And I begin doing a little exploring and trekking through these little waterways. So this is where the camera goes off, because I gotta exercise diligence traversing these terrains here. So far, been trekking through these kind of up path section here of the spring, and it's interesting because there's all these rock structures that have clearly been created by hand, and they exist all throughout the path, but not really any clear sign of what they're for. You'd almost think at some point there were homes and little dwarfs living in them here. Now here's something really kind of cool that caught my attention. Not exactly my favorite kind of creature, but it is a spider. It looks like a crab spider. I'm going to try to zoom in on this guy here. That is at least 2 inches big. I've been hiking now for at least 30 minutes through all of this, if not more. And the path is getting harder and harder to get through because there's so much wild bush and animal hazards or insect hazards, among other things. And one of the interesting things that I saw the last time I walked up through these parts was these guys. They're huge black slugs. This one's kind of crouching into itself right now, but I've seen them stretch as long as 6 inches or more. Right now he's stretched to about 3 inches. Slower than a turtle. And there's lots of wild foliage right here as well. Problem is, I'm only accustomed to identifying things over in Ontario, so for the most part I have no idea what I'm looking at, although there do seem to be some wild mushrooms here as well. Also, I have no idea what these are. So this is probably looking pretty much the same as before, but I've already had to jump over large boulders and stone and trunks of trees to actually keep going on this path here. And what I'm noticing is that there's more actual careful construction of buildings here. So this tells me that there's definitely been some older civilization or something at some point on these mountainscapes. Definitely people used to live here. Or some dwarvish people, who knows? Or hobbits. But there's definitely an intricate architecture going on here. Clearly centuries old. There's foliage growing everywhere inside these structures. There's no roofs, which probably means they just caved in. So it's pretty fascinating. It's like an apple tree. I honestly have no idea how long this trek could take me. But look at this. This is clearly an oven. It's got a stone layer here underneath. Surely it's where they would lit the fire. And on top here is where they would no doubt bake their breads and grains. There's even... no, it's not a chimney. Fascinating. And this is an orange. Did I just find an orange tree? If I did, it's not producing anything right now that I can see. It makes sense that people would have settled into a place like this because you'd want to be near water. Windows. Yeah, I've already soaked my feet once in the water. There are power lines running through there. So civilization has had its hand near here. And I officially have my foot also. This camera's got to go off. Alright, so I'm gonna admit a temporary defeat or retreat because my foot is quite soaked and this only gets more and more dense. Looking forward here, actually it looks like it'll be really dense getting through there. The densest that I've come across so far. And I've tasted this water. It's just... actually, to be honest, it's not the best tasting water that I've had. I've tasted better spring water in Canada. But nevertheless, it's very refreshing. And just need a minute to take this in. Alright. Now it's time for the journey back. It's going to be a long one.